So let me tell you about how I met the mister. Technically, it was when Peanut ran up to him in Volunteer Park, but really there's a lot more to it than that. Turns out, 6 years prior to that, something happened. So once upon a time, I lived in Houston, Texas, and I came up to Seattle to visit my family and friends, and my friend Molly invited me out for drinks. Now, Molly was friends with all kinds of really cool hipster indie rock people, and I am not that kind of person, so usually they kind of just looked at me like I had a booger on my face or something. But this one guy was really nice, and he chatted with me, and he let me tell him all about my theory about that if NSYNC were to stay together, they could aspire to make the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds album, but by NSYNC. And we all hopped into a van, and we went down to Shorty's, and we played video games, and he was really cool, and I lived in Texas, and I had a boyfriend, so, I said goodnight to him. So I came back to Seattle, and I was here to stay for good. I was looking for a dance partner. I called Molly, and she said to call that cute guy who I had chatted with. And so I did. I called him, and he never called me back. So 2 years passed, and Molly wanted me to come to Zach's birthday party. Yes, Zach, who drank all my Belvini later. I was really busy that day, though, and I really couldn't, and so I said no. So she called me again, and she was like, "Oh, we're playing kickball," and I was like, "No, I can't go, I'm really busy." And then she called again, and she was like, "There's gonna be cute guys," and I was like, "No, I can't go, I'm really busy." And then she kept calling every half an hour for the entire day until I showed up. It was ridiculous. So when I got there, Peanut jumped out of my arms and ran straight over to this guy, and I was so sure she was going to bite him or eat his face or something like that, but it turns out that she was super psyched to see him. She was acting like he was her long-lost owner. Since Peanut liked him, I decided to introduce myself, and it turns out it was that guy. And I was like, "Wait a second, I called you, and you never called me back." And he didn't respond. He just acted kind of sheepish, and then we had a really good day, and then he never asked for my phone number, which, was also awesome. The next day, Molly called me though, and she said, "Oh, he really liked you. He wants you to come play pool with us." I was so excited. I did the happy dance. And so I show up for pool, and he was kind of weird and distant, but I was like, okay, he's still pretty cool. But I had another date to go to, so I had to leave a little bit early. I decided to be a really modern girl, and I called him to ask him for a date at my house. I was teaching him salsa dancing, and then I thought we could bake a pie together, and we had a really good time. And then I thought I was going to get a kiss at the end of the night, but instead he gave me the click and the wink and the finger shooter things like that, and it was a little embarrassing, I'll be honest. So about a week passed, and he called me for a real live date. Now, while we were having our date, we realized that this had all been an elaborate setup by Molly and Zach the entire time. Zach had actually been calling the mister that entire day to make sure he came to the party so he could meet me. And then he had no idea I was coming for pool. That was just like a whole thing they were doing. So he didn't really realize we were on a date when I had asked him over to my house. Crazy, right? So we had our first date, which I considered our third date, and we ended up together. It all was happily ever after. Though, I still don't know why he never called me back.